Ever wonder why the same flight costs 2000 rupees sometimes and sometimes 7000 rupees? Ever wonder why the same product has different prices on Amazon and Flipkart and different prices in different months?
Different months? Well, they do sales in different months. Could it be because of that?
Well, sales isn't the only thing, right?
Okay.
A lot of times, say flight tickets, they just change randomly, right? What
Yeah.
is going on? Let's take a simple example.
Okay.
Suppose you have set up a cake stall at an exhibition and you have made 1500 cakes. The total cost for you was 1,50,000. So rupees 100 per cake. And this includes everything, the raw material that went into the cake, the labor, the cost of the stall, everything.
Okay.
How much should you charge per cake?
I would tack on a 50% profit and sell it at 150 per cake.
Where did this 50% come from? Why not 200? Why not 250?
It's 50, my number, 50%. I want 50% profit.
Yeah, I'll tell you why, right? That is because in 7th standard, your math teacher told you that the way the price is decided is you take the cost price and you put a profit percentage and you get a price. That is not how the real world works.
No?
Okay. I mean, see, your job isn't to earn a fixed profit.
Okay.
Your job is to maximize the amount of money you can make. So let's see how you can maximize the money. Okay.
Good point.
So let me ask you this.
Okay.
If you increase the price to 200 or 250, won't you make more money?
Will I? Because the number of people who will buy it at 150 is definitely not the same as the number of people who will buy it at 250. Less people will buy it at 250.
So you have seen our episode on supply and demand. You guys should also do it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If the price increases, the number of people willing to buy decreases.
Correct.
But your profit per cake is also going up, right? So it's not clear whether it is better. Okay.
I'll actually have to plot this on a graph and see, or put like numbers in a spreadsheet and see.
Absolutely great. We have done that for you. Okay.
Yeah.
So as an example, I have just taken an example and let's say that I have given prices from 110 to 250. Okay. Obviously, I don't want to go below 100 because no matter how many I sell, I will make a loss.
Correct.
Right? So from 110 to 250, various different prices. And as you can very clearly see, the demand curve has to be like this. High demand when the price is low and low demand when the price is high. Right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, which of these prices would you use?
I don't want to have any wastage, but I also want lots of money. So probably 150 sounds good, or maybe 200. Yeah, 200.
Well, the correct thing to do is to actually do the calculation, do the multiplication and find out how much money you're making. So again, just because you guys are lazy, we have put up the table here. If you see that 250 has 600 buyers, so you get around 150,000 only.
Which is basically I'm making my money back. Right. Nothing, no earning out of that.
200 more people are buying, so you end up with 160,000. Right? And so on. If you go through the table, you will see this is very typical, okay? That at the highest price, your total profit is low because the number of people, low number of people is dominating. It goes up like this and then it comes down again later because at 110, although the number of people is very high, your profit is low.
And therefore your revenues are low. So
typically it will be somewhere in the middle. So yes, I mean in this particular case, 150 is the correct answer, right?
Yeah.
Right. But that is not necessary. Sometimes the hump can be at 200, sometimes it can be at 130.
Correct.
Right. So
it depends on what the demand for that particular product is and what is the price point that people are willing to pay for that product. In this particular case, it was 150.
The most important thing that is not taught in 7th standard math class is that how much it cost you to make the cake is irrelevant, or at least not very relevant. How much people are willing to pay, how much value does it add to that person? That is the most important thing in pricing.
That makes sense. Okay, now I'm starting to get an idea of why we are talking about product pricing being so varied and people's perception about that pricing being so wrong.
Right. Everybody, when you look at the price, you just assume that the cost must have been just a little bit less than the price, and that's
They
it,
are
right?
making up that little bit of profit for themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
That is not really true, right?
Okay.
So price should be based on how much people are willing to pay, not how much it cost you.
Understood.
Okay? Usually small businesses, first time entrepreneurs, they end up charging much lower than what they should because they charge just a little bit above their cost, right?
Okay.
But they should be creating a table like this and decide what is the point at which your total revenue is maximized.
But where does someone get this data from? Like, where can you get an idea of how much people are willing to pay?
Yeah. So businesses do two things for something like this, right?
Okay.
One is they use surveys, right? Market surveys. Either the business can do it themselves, or there are companies which do market surveys for them to get an idea of how much people are willing to pay.
Yeah.
The second thing is actual experimentation, right? You are not in the business for just one day, right?
Correct.
You do this over time. So you can try different price points the first few times you do this, and that will give you an idea, because you will know every time you increase the price how much the sales went down, and you can sort of get an idea of this particular table. So now do you understand how pricing happens?
Yeah, there is some sort of a Goldilocks zone.
This was the simple version. Okay.
Okay.
We haven't gotten to the interesting and complex part of pricing. Okay, let's look at the table again.
Okay.
You have done this table and you have decided the price is 150, right? And you sold 1200.
Correct. So 300 cakes are wasted.
Yeah. So why don't we charge 150 for most of the people, but the 800 who were willing to pay more, we charge them 200. Why can't we do that?
Because the people, those 800 people will get angry with us and will never buy from us again. We are losing customers that way.
Very good point. Okay. If you had set the price at 200 from the beginning, those 800 would have happily paid 200.
Yes.
And they would have gone back very happy because your cake is obviously delicious. But if they find out that you were selling it at 150 to other people and sold it to them for 200, they will get angry.
Yes.
Okay. So this is a very important psychological thing that companies do have to keep in mind, right?
Correct.
But see, companies are very smart. They are smarter than you.
Okay? They are.
They find a way to somehow charge those people more without those people finding out.
How can you sell the same cake to two different people at two different prices?
Let me give you an example.
Please.
Okay? You said that the price of the cake is 200.
Okay.
Okay. Except that there are discount coupons which are available outside near the parking or something like that. Right?
Okay.
Now imagine somebody comes up. If they're willing to pay 200, they will just say, you know what, this discount coupon sounds like too much work. I'm not going to go all the way there.
The dollar value of my time is more than 50 rupees.
Yes, there's an episode. Check it out. Okay. Absolutely the point, right? So those people will buy it at 200.
Correct.
But the ones who will say, you know what, 200 is too much. I'm not going to buy that cake. And then their kid says, but I want cake. So then they say, fine, let's go over there. Let's go get the discount coupon, right? Basic idea is that they make the cheapos jump through hoops.
Don't call them cheapos. This is called extreme couponing, and there is an entire community around it. People actually go hunting for coupons and get the best value out of it.
Exactly.
Yeah. CC Geeks, I see you.
Yeah. So basically the people who wanted to buy at 150 will find all these coupons and ways to do it and put in whatever effort. And the people who are richer and who have the money and couldn't care less, they will pay 250, right?
Yeah.
So for example, on pretty much any app where you are buying things, there is always a section called coupons, which some people go into it in great detail. Whereas some people is like, that doesn't sound like worth my time, and just go and pay, right?
Listen,
this is what is happening. So this is one category, right? Make them jump through hoops.
Okay.
The other category, let's say you had priced it at 200 and there are still 600 people for whom you want them to pay 250.
Oh yeah.
Then what you should do is create a special premium category. Okay. So now you have the same cake here except that it is premium, so that you use a slightly different color icing on it. Okay, or two color icing. Okay,
or the box doesn't come with an ad.
or oh, just the box is nicer. Okay,
Yeah.
so for you the cost maybe went up from 100 to 102, but the price has gone up from 200 to 250.
Yeah.
Right. And there are people who are like, oh yeah, I want premium, and they will buy the premium, whereas the ones who couldn't afford 250 for a cake, they are going to pay 200 for the regular cake.
Or use coupons and pay 150 for it.
Exactly, right? And then you could do even something more drastic to go catch the people who are at 130 and 110 price points.
Don't take these as instructions. Huh? He's basically telling us what to look out for.
Yeah.
These are not instructions for you to fleece your customers.
Well, it is not called fleecing, okay? It is called customer segmentation, at which point it is all acceptable and above board and ethical and honest, okay? Customer segmentation, remember that word.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't do too much customer segmentation with your products, okay? I'm watching you. All right, so those are two methods. One is you make people jump through hoops. Two is you have a premium segment in which you essentially offer the same product but with a little more bells and whistles kind of a thing.
A different category of charging more is to charge more for desperate people.
Desperate people?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Simple, well-known examples, right? Uber used to charge higher for customers whose phone battery was low.
Ooh, that is
You can
terrible.
see, I mean, the person doesn't have a choice. Battery is going to die, then they will not be able to order an Uber at all. So higher price is okay. That same customer would have thought twice if they were doing it when battery wasn't a problem, right?
Yeah, and that's fleecing, man. That's definitely fleecing.
Yeah, so Uber did get into trouble for that.
Yeah.
See, again, there is a gray zone here, right? Because when people found out this is happening, they got very mad at Uber.
Yeah.
And then Uber had to do like a whole bunch of damage control.
Rightfully so. Rightfully so.
Right. There are other ways of doing it. For example, there are some apps that are paid apps. The same app usually costs more on an Apple device compared to an Android device. Because you just know that Apple people are used to paying more, right? They won't even check how much it costs on Android. Right? There's no choice they have.
Yeah, because Apple is a very closed ecosystem and I haven't used an Apple, but this is very much possible. I can completely agree with this.
And you can see this is a different kind of desperation, right? That guy, even if that guy finds out that it costs less on Android, it's not like they're going to switch to Android just to get the cheaper things. Although I know a few people who have done that, but most people will just suck it up and pay, right?
True.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's category number 3. Get desperate people to pay more for the same product or service.
Correct. When you take this to an extreme, there is dynamic pricing, fully personalized pricing, which online companies can do. Because what they are doing is they are collecting lots of information about you, not just on their own app and on their own website, but they are buying data from third parties, right? As soon as you go to their website, just from your IP address, they can guess where you live. They can guess what is your rough income range, right?
Yeah.
Because some areas of town are
higher income range and some areas are lower income range.
And as soon as you log in, they know who you are, and from your past behavior, they will have a pretty good guess that you are a 30-year-old and you are single or you are married and things like that.
Yeah, they have detailed profiles on all of us, especially if you don't bother about third-party cookies and having ad block on and all of that.
Right.
They essentially have you nailed down to your last bit of preference that you thought was hidden. They know that also.
So real life examples are, of course, that Uber, Amazon do charge different prices to different users.
Yes.
They also charge different prices for logged in versus logged out users, right? When you're logged out, they have less information about you.
Yes.
Whereas when you're logged in, they can be more precise. Right?
Yeah, and oftentimes they mask this by saying logged in users get a better deal on the product. But the fact is they know what kind of a user you are, what's your buying frequency and all of that, and they charge you accordingly. Just your buying history is enough oftentimes to give them an idea of what you are able to pay for a product, which is essentially the entire purpose of being in business.
Yeah. The most fascinating one though, for me, is where they actually restrict a product to reduce the price. Okay.
Restricted to reduce the price.
Yeah, I will tell you a lovely example.
Okay.
Before the Pentium chip,
Hmm.
there used to be a chip called 486.
Yes,
Okay.
I remember.
Yeah. So 486 used to come in two variations, 486DX and 486SX.
Okay.
486DX had a math coprocessor, that's why it was more expensive, and the SX did not have the math coprocessor, that's why it was less expensive.
Yes.
Do you know what Intel actually did? Those two chips were identical, except that in the SX, the one connection between the math coprocessor and the rest of the CPU was cut off.
Okay.
So Intel was selling the exact same thing, but with one feature disabled at a lower price. Okay, so clearly they were not doing it because math processor is more expensive.
Because
right?
yeah, they produce the math processor on the SX also.
This was customer segmentation. People who are willing to pay more buy the DX and pay more. People who are willing to pay less.
But the fact that we know about it today means that somebody actually found out that the DX and SX were essentially same,
Yes.
and also found out a way to make the SX into a DX.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure of that. I think I have read about this, but I'm not really sure what it is. Go look for it and put it in the comments if you find the link to it.
Yeah, a modern example of this is most online apps which have subscription pricing, right?
Yeah.
Say Spotify and things like that. For them, it costs almost nothing to let 2 people use it versus 6 people using it.
Yeah.
But the prices are different. These are just different ways of customer segmentation. Right?
And when you think about it, the app is exactly the same for the paying user and the non-paying user. So
Absolutely.
the features are already there in the app. It's just one password or one username or one flag that changes, right?
Exactly. The same concept.
All right. So that is another category of customer segmentation that
the world
brands
is
do.
full of customer segmentation. You just don't know it because you are not paying attention. You just thought that every company puts 20% profit on top of their costs. That's not how it works.
Yeah, but hearing you talk about all of this makes me think that all of this is so unfair. Differential pricing is so unfair to people. I mean,
well, there are two ways of looking at it. Right?
Okay.
One is that why do you care about how fair or unfair it is, right? You think about how much value it is providing to you, how much you're willing to pay for it. And as long as the price is that much or below, you should be happy taking it, right? That's one. A different way of looking at it is that this actually is a good thing, okay?
How?
This is, for example, there is a concept called sliding scale pricing, right? Textbooks in the US are ridiculously expensive.
Yes.
But the same textbooks can be bought in India for much cheaper prices. For the simple reason that in India, nobody will or can pay those prices for textbooks.
Yeah, $200 for a textbook in India, which is 16,000 rupees or 17,000, not gonna happen.
Right. So that's why they come up with Eastern economy editions, and on that there is like a big scary warning saying that you are not allowed to take this back to the US with you and things like that. But but it's a good thing overall, right? Otherwise, people in India wouldn't have those textbooks.
Yeah.
Right.
In case of textbooks, yes, the sliding scale pricing definitely works, or purchase parity pricing, as it is also sometimes known as, that works.
Yeah.
And I've seen some conferences also do this kind of.
Well, there are lots of other examples, right? When you go to study abroad, international students get charged more, right?
Yeah.
This is really customer segmentation, but nobody complains because they think, that seems reasonable, right?
Yeah.
When people come to India and go to see the Taj Mahal, Indians are charged like 10 rupees or 50 rupees or something like that, whereas foreigners will be charged $50, right? It's a huge difference, but everybody just accepts it, theek hai, right?
Yeah. So it's funny when it is happening to someone else, but not so funny when it's happening to you.
There's another category where nobody complains about differential pricing. Okay, that's when the goods or services are not seen as a purely commercial offering. Right?
Example?
Places of worship, lawyer fees, right? Educational institutions, medical fees, right? Where, it's like, oh, it's that person's duty to provide cheap services for the poor people and charge how much ever to the rich people, right?
Robin Hood pricing, I think it is called,
Yeah,
or
and
something.
people are sort of okay with that, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, those are also life-saving services in a way, so to speak. All
Yeah.
of those examples that he gave, temples, lawyers, and doctors,
Yeah.
life-saving.
Correct.
But yeah, it does make sense
And
that
of
way.
course, the most common pricing mechanism on the internet today is also a form of this, which is freemium, right? YouTube, right? Most people see it for free. That doesn't mean that it is actually zero. The company is making money from ads.
Correct.
But some people pay for a subscription and YouTube is making more money from those. So that is customer segmentation.
Yeah, actually, when you think about it, freemium models is definitely customer segmentation, because you're watching the same channel, futureiq, with Srikanth and Naveen, and you're either paying for it or paying for it through ads.
So I think take-home message is that pricing is a very complicated thing. There are people sitting in companies with PhDs in economics and lots of data who are just trying to figure out how much you are willing to pay and then figure out a way to charge you that much, right? What I would suggest is that when you are young and you have a lot of time on your hands, look for ways in which you can get the price reduced. There will always be ways, right? The company also wants to sell it to you for less money if it is possible to do that without pissing off the rich people, right? But later on, as you start making a reasonable amount of money, stop worrying about it. Focus on how much value it is adding to your life and just pay it. Don't waste too much time on it, because the time value of your money is more important, right?
The money value of your time is more important.
Yes.
And also, in some sense, time value of your money is also important. Correct. Because time is money, boss.
Yeah.
And thank you for spending this time with us, Srikanth, Naveen, futureiq. Go watch the episode on the dollar value of your time or money value of your time. Have fun.